I'm so glad that you're on the podcast with me finally, Kristina.
Hi, Kellee. Thanks for having me today.
Yes, and also a huge thanks to you for being part of my Deck of Dreams project. This is a little fun art program that I just created for the year. And I love that I can just pass over parts of it to other people to let them shine and really spotlight them. But we go back before just making art. We got to work together with my very first mastermind last year. So I just want to dive in and let everyone get to know who you are.
All
So
right.
start with the full-time job.
All right. I am a full-time high school art teacher. That is
Yes.
my day job. I try to
Yes.
make art on the side. I focus on art journaling. That's my huge focus for teaching.
Right. And you've been a teacher now in Virginia for a while.
14 years. Yeah,
For,
just finishing my 14th year.
yeah, I know part of your challenge is working full time, and being a teacher is a really exhausting job in this modern day anyway. So getting to the point where you can actually build the second part of your business, it's just taking a little bit of time. But I loved working with you all of last year as you were building out this remarkable idea, really honestly. And I just kind of want to talk about that a little bit because you got into, well, you're an art teacher and you're an artist, but you got into art journaling with your students. And that's where it sparked this idea that you were going to start trying to bring it to schools across the nation. So I really want to dive into what you discovered doing art journaling with your students.
Sure. Yeah. So it started off as a homework assignment, and we would build these books. I'll be honest. It started off when I took a bookmaking class in college, my last semester, and I fell in love with making books. And then I thought, well, maybe I could bring this into the classroom. So I had an upper level class and I wanted to give them some homework to do. So we started with art journaling. We made the book and the kids really liked it. And they were doing some really awesome work, which was then helping their artwork that we were doing in class as well, their studio work. It's been great. So the kids they started asking for, hey, can we do this as a full year? Can we do this as a course? And I was like,
Yeah.
why can't we?
Why not?
So we made it happen the following school year. And there was small group of like 6 kids. And then word started spreading. They were taking their journals, showing everybody. And so it turned into this year, I have 2 full classes of art journaling. And I have
Wow.
actually, for the first time, I have 2 students who submitted an AP portfolio with their art journals.
Wow. So they even took it all the way to AP art and went all the way for their, oh, well, see, so what I love is that your school allowed for this space of creativity to evolve. So that's pretty fantastic.
It
And
is. We are very supported and I appreciate it. And being a high school, being a public school, I should say, there's a focus on literacy. So when I said I was adding creative writing into it, it was
they
like,
were just like,
yeah,
yeah, how about
do
that?
it. Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more, like how it's more than just making art, how you really are able to nurture the students with the art journaling.
Okay, so they start off a little slow because they're not used to having to incorporate the writing aspect in.
Yeah.
And I do push it and I send them back. And I'm like, this doesn't have any writing. Come back when it has writing. So we start off kind of slow. We do like a song page and they pick their favorite song. And then the lyrics are the words on the
Yeah.
page. So it gets them comfortable in the beginning with adding the writing. And then we talk a lot about how, like, I don't touch their art journals. I don't read their art journals. I want them to feel like it's a safe place for them to really express themselves. It should be a journal. So I
Mhm.
mean, obviously I'm a mandated reporter. So if I do see something that comes up that is concerning to me, I do have to report it. But they understand that and they know that. And it's
But
been
everything else, they can pour out their heart into the art journal, and
Mhm.
you give them prompts to do it too, don't
Yes.
you?
Yes. So as long as I see the writing is there, we're good. They do get prompts. Some of them, if they get stuck and they're just not feeling it, I'm like, why don't you do a brain dump where you just anything that's going on in your head right now, you just dump it out on the page. And I don't read them anyways.
Right.
So I give the prompts because a lot of students need the prompts, but there are some students that don't need the prompts that can just free write.
Yeah.
So I give them that option. I say, you're not stuck with this. If you feel like there's something else that you really want to talk about, then talk about that. That works as well.
I love it. And then they know they can cover it up most of the time too, right?
I do allow them as long as they show me that it's there. Like they might bring up their book and say, here, look, here's my writing, but I'm painting over the top of it because I don't want anyone to read it. And I'm like, okay, we're good.
Check in
That
the
works
book,
for
the
me.
writing was done.
Yes. But the other option I give them is they can do the writing and tuck it into an envelope and glue it on and the envelope's closed. So as long as they show me before they close the envelope that it's there.
Yeah. It's just a matter of knowing that they're getting all those words out of their head and onto paper. It's really a therapeutic thing. And I'm wondering if you knew that it was going to evolve into a thing that you see the kids flourishing and maybe dealing with their emotions better because of the art journaling.
I did not foresee this. I just went in as something really fun that we could do. And then I started noticing how therapeutic it was for them. And it's such a huge social emotional piece that, you know, we're offering here. And the kids right now, they need that. It's therapeutic. They need that right now. And the kids love it. They really enjoy the class. It's not centered around me talking and teaching. It's, you know, I give them different techniques that they can incorporate into their page. So they're getting some new art techniques. I give them the prompts, and then I just walk around and just have conversations. And it's just kids talking, and they walk around and they're like, I love what you did on this page. How did you do that? So they're learning from each other too. And it's a really fun class, fun environment.
I love it because, I mean, I took AP art, of course, because that's what I love to do, but it's like the shading and the draping and the, you know, the parts of the body and like all these like rules and boring things you have to go through, which I'm sure you still have to teach because you teach AP art, but it's so different, like the idea. And we know as adults and all, you know, all the listeners who've even come anywhere near art journaling or mixed media know that there's a real free for all. There's a real looseness and playfulness about it. And you're exposing the teenagers to that at a very early age, you know, in their teen years. So they don't have to wait to, like the rest of us who finally rediscover it.
Yeah. And it's really cool too, because a lot of kids will shy away that I'm not taking an art class. I'm not good at art. I can't draw. And I always say, this is the perfect class for you then.
Right.
Just put colors down on a paper and we'll play. Like that's what we're doing. We're just playing. And it's so much fun. And the kids who have never taken an art class, and I have a ton of seniors that are like, they were scared, but they wanted to take a really fun class for their senior year, and they're in art journaling and they fell in love. They're all making extra books right now so they can take them home for the summer so they can journal all summer. I was like, this is great. And they're taking journals at college. I'm like, all right, make as many as you want.
Wow. Like you're turning them all into like, this is now their newfound favorite hobby even.
Yeah, they love it.
So do you get a lot of non-specifically, I put in quotes for those who are not watching and listening, non-artists, or like you said, people who think, oh, I can't draw a straight line. And now we know that that's a myth about being creative because it has nothing to do with your straight line drawing ability. But do you get a lot of kids that say, you know what, I'm just going to take this class because it's a release for me?
Yes, a ton. I would say 75% of the class is kids that have never taken an art class and that just want to take art because they've seen their friends' art journals and they're like, I can do this. So,
well, obviously it's growing because now you're at 2 classes a year. So it's becoming a very popular class, but I love that it's giving them, I just love it. Like I get chills thinking about the fact that they're really being able to be exposed to this more freer way of playing. And I know that when we've done, you know, we've worked out like how you want to build a program so that you can get more schools to do this. Like, so everyone who's listening and you want your school to do this, your kid's school, or you're a teacher, or I'm putting Kristina on the spot right now. She's got an entry level, like how to get started with art journaling in the classroom. And you can sign up for that for free. We're going to put the link in there, but like the goal is to get like the more comprehensive program done so that teachers can start presenting this to their school district and say, I'd like to implement this and have a curriculum already built out by the one and only Kristina Nosal. But what I love is as we talked about, like just all the things to know, it's not like you need to know all the art steps exactly as a teacher. It's like how you guide the students, how you encourage the students, how you even grade something like that, because you're not doing it based off of technique, right?
no, honestly, it is really hard. I do struggle with that sometimes, but because of the way the class is laid out and because I have so much one-on-one time with the students that honestly, I watch how much effort that these kids are putting into this page.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I make sure that I don't want to see your background. Like I don't want to know what color page you were working on. If it was black or brown or white, whatever, I don't want to know. And it's, do you have the writing? Do you have enough writing? And I always say, do you want your full grade? Because if you do, go back and have more writing and come back and see me.
Right.
And then
so,
they do. No,
so
hard.
you check off, they did the writing. It doesn't matter what the writing was, but they did the writing.
Yep.
They filled up the page.
Yep.
That's important. They did so many pages in the journal. They participated, they collaborated, they communicated. It seems like it's an easy grade. Like,
yeah,
as long as you
say that, but
do the work, right?
Yeah. And we talk a lot about like building up layers. So that's what the whole first quarter is about. How do we make backgrounds? How do we add different layers in to create dimension? And we just keep going up, and the techniques I teach each quarter are a little bit different. Right now they're doing a window. So they have to cut a hole in one of the pages so you can see through to the other page. They're struggling a little bit because I was like, it's kind of 2 pages because now you have to incorporate what's on the other page into this. So they get more difficult and challenging as we go.
Well, that's probably a lot of fun for them because, I mean, Now you've taught other teachers before
I
to
have,
try
yes.
and get it already. You've taught them in person. So you do in-person workshops.
Yes.
How many of them have actually been able to go back and implement it into their schools?
So I got a lot of emails after I taught the class. I taught it last winter, spring, I don't know, sometime in the spring. It went, the teachers, first of all, we had so much fun. And they were all like, wow, I can do this, because I showed them, two different ways to make a book, depending on what grade level and what time and what class they were teaching. I think most of them went with the simpler book that they started incorporating on Fridays. We do art journaling on Fridays, or, the first 15, 20 minutes of class, we're in our art journals. And I have gotten a lot of emails that the teachers are loving it.
So it's starting to happen. That was the whole
Yeah.
thing. When I started working with you, I'm like, oh my goodness, this could be completely transformative if schools, well, across the world, but let's just focus on the schools we know here in America, started giving this as an option for students. Because, I mean, we all know teenage years are not easy. No years are easy. Let's be honest. No years are easy, but teenage years are a struggle. So when you have that outlet, I mean, I think that there's a real chance that, some of the biggest struggles that teens go through, they can feel nurtured through this process. So that's what excited me to work with you. I was like, we got to get this in more schools. And I know it's
Yeah.
just a matter of time for you because you have a family, you have a full-time job, you have your own health issues to overcome and make sure that there's enough space and capacity to create it. But I'm still like your big cheerleader in the corner. Like, we really got to see how to make this come alive so that, you can bring it to the schools across the nation.
Yeah. I mean, I really think that working with you last year in the mastermind, it really did get me going. For sure. Like, I don't even know if I'd be at the place where I would have even created a free class at this point had we have not, worked together. It was a really
Right. Well, you were able to grow your list and you've like quadrupled your Instagram account. So a lot of the things that you did laid the foundation, right? And getting solidifying the ideas and just knowing where to go next. So
yeah.
I love it. I love that we got that chance to work together. But more importantly, like, I could just really open my mind to a different way that you can turn your art into a business, because most of us are so linear. I make this, I teach it to other artists, and we don't really think about, like, okay, who's in my circle? What am I known for? What problem am I solving? And then when you dive into that and you see the experience you have the reach here within the school systems, you have the experience, you're an expert in this. It's like sometimes we kind of miss the obvious. So I love that we were able to, and it even helped me think, like, how else can we be serving with our talents? So for all those who are listening are like, okay, so I don't just have to create a course and put it online. Like, there's so many different ways we can work with people and create. And so I loved being able to see that point of view with you and like knowing what a massive impact it would be.
I mean, I always have, and I've always loved art journaling, but since the pandemic, I feel like it's crucial. Like, I feel like teens need this. Like right now, like I want everybody teaching it.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I got to start getting my large class. It's ready. I just have to film it. Like, I know what I'm doing. Because I really am passionate about it. I feel like everybody should be teaching this, and
I know.
getting an art education degree, they teach you how to teach everything. Like, I should be able to teach photography and digital art, and well, let's throw art journaling in. Like, we should be doing this.
Right. I mean, I guess the next step is to take it to the universities. You said you were even talking to students at George Mason and they were like, was it George Mason?
Yeah, it was George Mason students. They came to observe. They were, I think, first year art education majors. And they came in and they were just obsessed. Yeah. They're like, this is awesome. I wish I had this in high school.
Right, exactly. So it's just about getting the word out there so people know that this is even a possibility. And I remember one story when you came in for one of our coaching sessions and you had talked about a young girl who was, I guess, so troubled that there was a chance she had like tried to take her life at school or something like that. And I think that really sparked, and both of us, as we were having this conversation, became kind of emotional when we realized that, unfortunately, schools and teachers are really responsible for a lot of that now, whether they want to be or not. But you've seen that kind of support and help through the art journaling program that you have, that it actually can help transform where that student is to a better place. Unfortunately, as the burden weighs heavier and heavier on the teacher, at least there's an outlet,
Yeah. And I had a meeting actually yesterday about a student, and they hadn't seen her in school. I'm like, well, she was just here this morning. Like, she comes to art journaling, but she's not going to her other classes, but she doesn't need my class to graduate.
Right.
Other classes to graduate. So I was glad, I'm glad she's coming in, but it did make me feel like, wow, she's here because she needs to be here, obviously.
That's very interesting. Like she's missing all the important classes, but this one is the most important to her and her
Yep.
well-being. And I just keep thinking about that, like such a simple, fun concept, because art journaling is a load of fun, right?
Oh
Such a
yeah.
simple, fun concept to just light up these kids, you know? So yeah, I'm on a mission to help you on your mission to get art journaling in all the schools. But in
Thank
the
you.
meantime, I wanted to ask you again, like really quick, going back to the beginning of the conversation, you had students that actually used art journaling as their AP final.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that work out?
It worked out really well. Um, and it was I mean, AP has changed a lot in the last couple of years, but it was a personal exploration. So I have one student, she just basically documented her entire senior year this year through her art journal, and anything that was going on in her head. Like she was really stressed in the fall, college applications and hitting those deadlines and writing the essays. And I mean,
Wow.
and that's what she was dealing with in there. So her whole AP portfolio and her whole artist statement was about how, you know, she documented her senior year in her art journal.
Wow.
So I think
That's
it's
like
perfect.
so cool. I love it. It does
Yeah.
take me back, and that's why I get so excited because I have a soft spot for teenagers, to be honest. And I realized that once my kids got to that age, and just when I'm around teenagers, because I find them incredibly fascinating and underappreciated,
I
you know,
agree.
very much underappreciated. And I think that they're super intuitive and smart, and they're not given enough credit for that. So like when I hear like there's just like a world opening up to them, it makes me really excited, which is why I will always continue to encourage you until the course is done. And I know that that will come this summer when you have a little breather from, I mean, like being a teacher has got to be very tiring.
Yeah. It's mentally exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have home and I have a 5-year-old. So
Yeah, exactly. So, but I will continue to encourage you. What are some of your favorite art journaling techniques you've come up with lately? Like, what have you stumbled upon that's just lighting you up? So let's just talk a little bit about art,
okay.
the actual
I
fun things.
love handmade papers.
I
Like I
know.
don't even ever want to use a paper that's not handmade anymore. And then I'm just obsessed with making them.
Yeah.
So I have way too many handmade papers. And the other one is the one I taught in for my lesson this month in Deck of Dreams.
Yes. I loved that because you're like using texture in a new way and then adding either spray acrylic or acrylic inks or whatever, but using the modeling paste to make that texture is like
Yeah,
super yummy.
have that 3D effect.
Yeah.
I really love those spray inks. They're really fun.
Yeah. Now it's like, oh shoot, is that another thing I need to purchase? No, 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 stop. I am so guilty of that. But that's the problem when you get into mixed media. It's like every new idea, you're like, I want to do this forever. But I've been coming up with some really fun things in Deck of Dreams, just some wild, like it pushes me to come up with wild ideas, but I'm like really excited to turn it over to other artists because I have more than just you coming in. So you're my first guest artist in Deck of Dreams. And I don't know that I'm going to run this program past this year. It might be just the only time that I do this, but I always just love seeing what other people come up with, because you'd think it's a deck of cards. How much can you possibly do with it? But we have not run out of ideas. We're only opening up the door to more ideas. And I think that's mixed media and art journaling in general.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like every art journal page, or how many pages can you do in an art journal? Well, I could do thousands
Yeah.
and they don't look the same.
Yeah, ever. Especially because there's so many supplies to keep exploring and hoarding.
I know.
It's terrible. Well, thank you so much. I am just so glad to finally have you on the podcast and let people know what you're doing, because I'm gonna continue to make sure that people hear about this program so that when it opens,
Thank you.
all the teachers that are out there, or all the people who know teachers out there, or all the parents out there who want their teachers to be using this, see how it goes? Yep. Everybody out there knows somebody who needs to get art journaling implemented, and just go to the link in our profile and I'll have that link to Kristina's little free course to get art journaling in the classrooms.
Thank you.
Thank you a million times over.